The other evening you gave a possible ladder of ascending developments: animal, woman, man, angel, bodhisattva. So does this mean that man is more developed than woman? And if so, in which ways? There is, of course, the lower evolution, and there is the higher evolution. So in what does evolution consist? From one point of view, at least, evolution, especially the higher evolution, consists in the development of consciousness. And not only the development of consciousness, but in the emancipation of consciousness from its biological base. Now, the superiority of man to woman, and here, of course, I'm generalizing, the superiority of man to woman consists in his greater degree of emancipation from his biological base. In the case of women, the biological base is more important and occupies a much larger place in their consciousness, so to speak, and in their life. And this is due to their role in the process of reproduction. It is, after all, woman who conceives, and woman who bears children, who suckles them, who nurtures them. And woman is therefore built, to speak as it were teleologically, to a great extent for that purpose, in a way that man is not built for fatherhood. Woman's consciousness, woman's energy, is much more bound up with her biological role than is that of man. Therefore she is less emancipated and finds greater difficulty in emancipating herself from that biological role. And it is that, basically, in which the inferiority and superiority, to use those terms, essentially consists. Now, I'm not denying that there are exceptions. There are certainly women who manage to emancipate themselves from their biological role, or from the predominance of their biological role, and do definitely spiritually evolve as individuals. There is no doubt about that. But when one asks about women or about men, one is asking about the mass. And therefore, when one answers, one is speaking about the mass, even while admitting that exceptions certainly do exist. The Buddha made it clear that women can evolve spiritually. So in Buddhism we have no doubt about that. But it is more difficult for women than it is for men, generally speaking, for most women, that is to say, on account of the facts that I've mentioned. Now, in the course of my work with people, obviously women come to me as well as men. And women come and discuss their problems and difficulties as well as men. And for a woman who has started thinking seriously in terms of leading a spiritual life and trying to develop spiritually, assuming, say, that she is not married and has no children, it's a real problem whether she should have children or not. You may not be very flattered to learn that the man is not a very big problem for her. It is the child that is the problem, the baby, the having the baby, that is the real problem. And many women who become quite seriously interested in the spiritual life and who feel themselves that, say, having children, having babies, is incompatible with the spiritual life, at least for the time being, really have to ask themselves, do I want to develop spiritually, or do I want to have a baby? In a way that a man never has to ask himself. No man has ever come to me and said, Bhante, I've got a problem, whether to follow the spiritual life or whether to have a baby, whether to be a father. No man has ever come to me with that problem, but many a woman has come with that problem. So it is much more of a question for them. So if they give up having a baby, their own baby, producing it from themselves, it's a much bigger sacrifice than is the corresponding sacrifice in the case of the man. So this is why I put women lower in the evolutionary scale than I put men. On the whole, I mean, bearing in mind that one is speaking of the type, so to speak, and not necessarily always of the individual. So how does the gap between woman and man compare to that between man and angel in quality and extent? If one takes ordinary undeveloped man and ordinary undeveloped woman, the gap between them is very, very much less than that between man and angel. Yeah? After all, woman sees man. Man does not see angel. Man has a physical body like woman. Angel doesn't have a physical body. So I would say that between ordinary undeveloped man, there is a much bigger gap. Between ordinary undeveloped man and the angel, there is a bigger gap than there is between the ordinary undeveloped man and the ordinary undeveloped woman. The developed man, the very developed man, is of course the angel himself in human form. So in that case, there is no gap.